welcome to Media in the Classroom, a technology services webinar from the Los Angeles County Office of Education. My name is Julie Drake, consultant with Instructional Technology Outreach. As the saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and this webinar will illustrate research-proven strategies with engaging examples of media that have the potential to transform classrooms and engage students. We have solid evidence for a couple of decades now that video can improve student learning when utilized with just a few strategies. I experienced this firsthand as a classroom teacher when my students better understood complex topics with the visual support of media. I saw that they also retained information longer. What is exciting is how technology has allowed a stronger infusion of media to support the curriculum and an ease of use for the classroom teacher. In the next hour, you will experience a virtual field trip coming live from the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California. You will see some remarkable award-winning technology-based projects, and you will witness how one award-winning teacher implements media throughout her classroom blog. And you will also see a cutting-edge media-on-demand system that delivers top-notch licensed media. Joining me is Kathy Rodriguez, an instructional technology consultant. Welcome, Kathy. Tell us about your work.
Well, I'm a consultant here at the LA County Office of Ed, and my work revolves around professional development for teachers. We do a lot of training here at the office, and we work with teachers and administrators, providing workshops for them on the use of technology to support instruction and learning.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
And also with us is instructional technology consultant Laura Smith. What is the emphasis of your work, Laura?
I'm also working in professional development in integrated technology, but I have more of a focus in working in media. So we work in media integration and assisting teachers to utilize the services that we provide here to be able to integrate that into their curriculum.
That's great. Thank you. And I also want to encourage you to make this webinar interactive. Please participate by sending questions you may have regarding media in the classroom through the text box on this viewing page. We'll do our best to answer your questions. We'll start with a question that was posted in advance. The question read, I could use some fresh ideas or classroom projects for my GATE or gifted fourth grade students. These critical thinking scholars love to take curriculum to the next level. To the poster of that question, I believe you are in the right place to be inspired. There will be a number of fresh ideas and projects highlighted throughout this webinar, as well as resources you can explore after. So let's get started. Kathy, the first question noted the need for critical thinking for GATE or gifted students. Along with our home of consultants from Instructional Technology Outreach, you worked with a program to develop a program called ITEL. What is this program, and what is the need for the development?
Well, Julie, the program ITEL stands for Integration of Technology for English Language Learners. And what we discovered over the last decade or so that our demographics in classrooms have been changing. And we have had a 60% increase in the amount of English learners in the classroom over the last few years. And in the state of California, that represents 1/3 of the students in all of our classrooms who are English learners.
That's great. And I think we have a graphic to show that.
Well, one of the issues that we found is that many of our teachers have had very little or no training in how they can use strategies to help English learners in the classroom. And so we developed the ITEL training looking at the latest research, looking at technology resources, and then putting together a 4-day program to help teachers utilize technology to support learning for English learners. And some of the research that we used are from researchers such as Robert Marzano. We looked at the work of Robin Scarcella, who is at UCI down in Irvine. And then we also looked at some of the older researchers like Howard Gardner. We looked at Stephen Krashen, and we incorporate some of those ideas into the training so that we can make sure that teachers are looking at the big picture and maybe revisiting some of the things they may have studied in college and university.
Can you talk a little bit about the survey?
Oh, the Marzano survey, he addresses the technologies and how you can use technology in several areas in the classroom. He wrote a book called Classroom Instruction That Works, and there are several strategies that he has found in his research that have proven to be successful in the classroom. So we show a lot of those strategies as part of our training for ITEL.
great. And you mentioned a survey. I think I got that wrong. That's called the NCE survey. Is that right?
Oh, the NCE survey. I'm sorry. Well, that's the survey that was taken back in 2010, and it's talking about how California has the largest population of English learners in the United States. And as I said before, 1/3 of those students are in our classrooms. So it's really incumbent upon us to provide training to help teachers deal with the needs of our student population.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit more about Robin Scarcella?
Robin Scarcella is a researcher at the University of Irvine, and her work really revolves around helping students develop academic language. What we're finding now, and it's really a critical need, most of our students are what we call LTELs, which stands for long-term English learners. And they're entering college and universities, and they're not prepared really to deal with the rigor of university environment. And so what Robin's work revolves around is the idea of the development of academic language. And we really want to address that need way before students end up in a college university class and unprepared, being able to read, speak, or write English well.
Right. So with Gardner's multiple intelligences, that's a huge piece, I know, of a lot of educational pedagogy. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, as you know from this is what we've learned in our college university classes, we talked about how every student in our classroom learns differently. So, for example, in Gardner's series of the multiple intelligences, he addresses the various ways that a student might respond to information. Some of us are really visual learners. Some of us are better at language and speaking. Some of us are mathematical, so we respond to different things that are presented to us in the classroom. As part of the ITEL training, we review a lot of this information and talk about ways you can use technology to help students, and that way you're addressing their needs.
That's great. Well, thank you, Kathy. And I know that a lot of the media that we work with, it's really about the visual and kinesthetic,
Absolutely.
which I think a lot of our students fall into that category. Well, let's take a look at one teacher putting her knowledge to work from the ITEL program in the classroom. Let's watch.
In the Lancaster School District, educators are using technology and EL strategies to assist teaching and learning in their special education programs.
Most of our students in the moderate severe program have not had a lot of access to technology, but Ms. Balcazar went through a training through LA County Office of Education, and when she came back with that, she's been bringing the students closer and closer to I would say the 21st century.
Very often I really use a strategy content dictionary. So because through that strategy, my students really learn not only new words, but also the concept that increase their meaning about reading comprehension. Some of my students, I have some verbal skills and are English language learners. So at the beginning of the school year, they were able to say some words, but mostly in Spanish. That is their native language. And I start using, that strategy. And right now they are able to communicate all the words they can say in English. And they added new words also to her communication skills.
She's utilizing EL strategies for her special education population. If a student can see and be able to communicate what's going on inside them, you get more information. She keeps the kids engaged longer, so she's better able to give them information and then figure out what they've learned.
They were able to understand more words. They were able to increase their reading comprehension. They were able to spell new words. They were able to increase their way of communication.
She's done a very good job in terms of using the technology to help students communicate what's going on inside them or what the ideas they have, along with decreasing challenging behavior and keeping students on task.
So break that down a little bit for us, Kathy. What elements of the ITEL program did we see in that video clip?
Okay, well, initially we saw her using the content dictionary, and it's a strategy that's really based on GLAD training that we've all been through. And she was showing her students, we saw an actual example of a content dictionary. There are a lot of vocabulary words that are introduced. They're put into a web. It's a mind map. But what's unique about the strategy is that it allows us to embed video, and we're also embedding audio, so students are hearing the words they're learning, and being able to have visual representation of the vocabulary words that they're learning really adds to the learning of the vocabulary. And our goal is for an increase in academic language.
Great. Thank you. So another strategy for increasing student understanding using technology tools is when students produce their own media. In fact, Laura, you create or the judging, or you coordinate that whole piece for a student awards program that we have here at Los Angeles County. Tell us about that, please.
Each year we have a program called the Digital Voice Awards, and this project honors exemplary projects done by teachers in their classrooms where they've given their students curricular projects that integrate technology. So we honor them annually with an awards program where the teachers submit these projects. They go through a whole judging process, and then we have an online webcast to honor these teachers. The intent is to take these exemplary projects and share them so that other teachers throughout the state can have them as exemplars.
That's great. Well, let's watch a segment from a classroom-produced project and a Digital Voice Award winner called Fox and the Moon. Kathy, before we watch this, what should we look for?
Well, you want to look for the students using their vocabulary words. They're also reading. So this is sort of an example of story theater. But what you want to listen for is their fluency in being able to read and speak English. It's really nicely demonstrated in this beautiful story that they tell.
Let's watch.
Time ago, when animals could talk, Fox and Mole were very good friends. They liked to sit in the moonlight and share stories. Mole, I have the craziest dream. I want to go to the moon.
I don't care about going to the moon. I only want to eat big, fat, juicy worms for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes, I know, but Mole, what do you wish for the most?
Worms! I wish I had worms to eat all day long.
And I wish I could go to the moon. What a wonderful place it must be. I have an idea. Will you come with me?
To the moon? That's the craziest idea. The moon is too high, and it's impossible to get there.
We'll wait for the crescent moon, then tie a very long rope to the moon and climb up it. It'll be easy.
I'm not impressed.
Mole, did I tell you there are worms on the moon? You can eat thousands of them. There are worms everywhere.
Even enough to eat some for dessert? Okay, let's go.
That's wonderful. So we really see the strategies you were talking about.
Yes, and not only that, the students are really, you're able to hear the automaticity and how they're able to express themselves, and they have some dramatic effects added in.
Absolutely.
It's a great example.
Right. Well, thank you. You can learn more about the ITEL program, including accessing the video clips and supporting research by visiting ito.laco.edu/ITEL. Also, if you have questions, please send them our way by posting them on the text box on this page. In just a moment, Linda Yolis from Chaparral Elementary School in Las Virgenes Unified School District will be joining us via Skype. Linda and her students were the winners of the Best Overall Elementary Digital Voice Awards a couple of years ago for Mrs. Yolis' classroom blog. Let's take a look at this award-winning blog. Let's take a look at this amazing model, which is also a Digital Voice Award winner. This blog incorporates many types of media, from photographs to video, and is a model for cooperative and collaborative learning with technology. In fact, the blog tagline is, "Third graders learning and sharing together."
We're doing a movie on Play Study. Behind me is the number 3,232 in standard form. But there's another way to do it.
Word form. 3,232.
But there's another way to do it. Expanded form. 3,000 plus 200 plus 32. But there's another way to do it. Block form. 3,232.
Asia is the largest continent and has the largest population, 4 billion people. China, India, Israel, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Nepal, Mongolia, Syria, Afghanistan, Vietnam, North Korea, Taiwan.
That's great. I love that. I have the pleasure of introducing Linda Yolis, joining us from her classroom in Las Virgenes Unified School District via Skype. Hello, Linda.
Hello, Julie.
Hi. Hey, congratulations, by the way, for being honored as 2011 Teacher of the Year.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a real honor, and I'm really happy to be here today talking about a passion of mine, educational blogging. So thanks for inviting me.
Oh, thanks for being here. Let's start with a really basic question. What is a blog?
Well, a blog is an online journal, so to speak. You take the word web and log, and they kind of put them together and made the word blog. And a blog, like I said, is an online journal. It's usually published in chronological order with the most recent post first. And there's two basic parts of a blog. You have the post and the comment section. And the post can be anything. It can be a math lesson. It can be a science experiment. It usually has text. It can have photos, videos. Any Web 2.0 tool can be embedded in a blog. It can have hyperlinks. And then there's my favorite part of the blog, the comment section. And the comment section is really where the whole blog comes to life. It's where readers can submit their own comments to it. They can give a specific compliment. They can add factual information, make a connection with the post. It's really where the blog comes to life.
That's great. And we'll be talking about a lot of those elements of a blog. But let's talk now about Mrs. Yolis's classroom blog. The name of yours, and when did you begin this and why?
I started in 2008, and I really didn't know much about blogging. I really set it up primarily for parents. I was hoping to kind of flatten the classroom walls here and bring in parents so they could have a glimpse of what's happening in our classroom, and the comments would be coming from them. But what I soon realized is educational blogging is an amazing way to connect with classrooms all over the world. In fact, we have really close blogging buddies in Australia, in New Zealand, in Connecticut. We learn from one another. We have conversations in the comment section, and it's a real global learning community. It's amazing.
That's great. That's great. Well, I know that your classroom blog led you to other classroom blogs, and now you and your students are participating with other blogs really internationally. There is one that you share with a third grade teacher in Connecticut called the Reading Roundup, which is a literacy blog with a Western theme. So let's take a look at your feature video with none other than Sheriff Yolis and Sheriff Southich helping your buckaroos understand nonfiction text features.
Howdy, all you cowboys and cowgirls out there. This here's Sheriff Yolis, and I'm here to welcome you back to the Reading Roundup. I hope you've been having a humdinger of a time with the books you've been reading. I know I have. I reckon you recall that a fictional story is a fake story. Now, they are mighty pleasurable to read, but all the same, a fictional story is a fake story. And at this juncture on the learning trail, I think it's high time we talk about a whole nother section of the library devoted to the truth. I'm speaking about the nonfiction section. How about it, Sheriff Solsick? You ready to talk a little nonfiction?
You're darn tootin' I am, Sheriff Yolis. I do so love reading a good fictional story, whether it's got fanciful creatures or a realistic setting and a plot that I can imagine I'm right in. Yet sometimes it's good to learn about the real world, too. In fact, that's what we're aiming to teach you buckaroos about right now. Nonfiction books. Nonfiction books are chock full of fancy doodads that we call text features. Text features help the reader to understand the information. Why, you've got your headings, your subheadings, diagrams, your captions, maps, charts, even timelines from time to time.
Well, fancy doodads, what a fun introduction to the subject, making a video using green screen with a teacher all the way from across the country. So how did this project happen, Linda?
I met Jonas Solsick through commenting on each other's blogs. I've never met him in person, but we do a lot of collaboration. And the two of us have our own classroom blogs, but we wanted to do a different blog that had more of a literacy component, something that was going to complement what we're doing in our daily lessons in the classroom. And so we were brainstorming different ideas, and I said, I was born in Montana. Why don't we do like a Western theme? And we could call it Reading Roundup. And I could be Sheriff Yolis, and he could be Sheriff Solsick. And then we even came up with the idea where we could, the kids who comment the most and have the greatest quality in their comments, we could deputize them. And they love it. They love to sign their comment Deputy Bob or Deputy Carol. And so it's a real way to tap into the enthusiasm children have for technology in meaningful ways, and it really works.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, wonderful. That's great. Well, Linda, while we have you with us, we're going to take one of our posted questions from one of the viewers. The question reads, how do you assess an online group project? Does anybody have a rubric they feel is easy for students to follow? I'm a Spanish teacher, and I'm hoping to do some virtual travel online. Well, that's a good question, and I want to refer viewers to the webinar resource page with rubric samples and specific responses to posted questions. But, Linda, why don't you take a stab at that one, and how do you assess students' work on your blogs?
Well, it's a great question, and it's a question I get asked a lot. And it's really up to the teacher how they want to run their blog and the purpose of their blog. And you could certainly grade the content and have rubrics. I use the blog as a way of motivating my students to practice their reading and writing skills. I don't grade any of it. It's all optional most of the time. And what I found is most kids want to be part of this online community and just contribute on their own. It's like magic. But I do, once a month, publish a post, and all the kids must leave a comment on the blog, and they get a week to do so. If they don't have a computer at home, or if there are technical issues, they can always do it old school and write their answer down, and we can type it into the blog during the school day sometime. But I don't grade everything. One of the benefits of having a blog, though, is it really becomes an online portfolio for anyone, parents, teachers. If you look at the comments in September and you compare them to the quality of the content that's in June, it's really remarkable, the growth that the students have made. It's unbelievable. So it's a nice way in that, but I don't grade.
That's great.
And in fact, like I said, it's really up to what a teacher wants to do. I have heard of teachers trying to make everybody participate for every post and becoming overwhelmed with it. And, I want it to be a nice place for us to practice quality writing and reading.
Right. Well, and I think that that's an important point, Linda. We know that the more students write, the better they become. And
Absolutely.
So that's a really great piece there. To extend the audience beyond doing assignments just for the teacher has an amazing effect on student work. In the short clip we showed earlier from the 2009 Digital Voice Awards, 1,500 visitors had been to your site, and we were blown away by that. But as we can see from your cluster map, just since January 2010, you are now approaching 74,000 visitors from all across the world. What do you think the impact is to you as a teacher and also your students for this broad and expanded audience?
Well, primarily it's the motivation. You look at that map and you can see we have visitors, we have readers, and it really raises the level of concern for the students. They really want to produce top-notch writing if it gets published on the blog. So it's a real motivator. But also you look at the geography possibilities that are part of a blog. The blogging buddies that I talked about, we Skype with. So we're not just looking at a map and finding countries. We're actually Skyping with these people. The time zone understanding that comes with that, it'll be Wednesday afternoon here where we are, and it'll be Thursday morning where our blogging buddies are. They understand the hemispheres because it's, December in the southern hemisphere, and they are having winter, and then it's the opposite here in the northern hemisphere. So that kind of understanding, those kinds of experiences are so memorable. And just to show you, right here behind me, every day we look at our visitor map and we take the number in standard form, expanded form, and word form. So there's all kinds of opportunities for learning within the blog, not just reading and writing.
That's great. So it's really all across the curriculum. That's wonderful.
It is.
That's great.
It really is.
Well, I've noticed that most commenting on the web dissolves into grandstanding and name-calling. How do you keep the comments constructive and on target for your students as well as for the general public?
Yeah, that's a really important question. First and foremost, I moderate everything that's published on the blog. From the post to every single comment that comes in has to be approved by me. So that's really important. I also teach directed lessons about how to write a quality comment, and it's a part of our writing process. We do our comments in letter form because it's a third grade standard, so they have a greeting, a body, and a closing. But we also evaluate. Once I've taught lessons about commenting, the kids evaluate them in the morning. We put the comments that have come in over the projector, and the kids will rate them on a 1 or 2 point scale. And if they give it a 1, they have to validate. Why did you give it a 1? And they'll say things like, well, this person didn't add any factual information. They didn't make any connections. All their sentences start the same. And then a different comment, a lot of kids might give it a 2, and they'll say, well, they made this connection. They backed it up with a detail. Their vocabulary is great. So all of that evaluation of the comments that come in is really rich for my students. So I teach directed lessons, we evaluate, and lots of practice.
That's great. Let's take a look at this segment of this video. I think that your students created this, so let's take a look at what they had to say.
I like your shirt. Thank you. You're welcome. We're talking about complimenting. Whenever you leave a comment, it's always nice to open with a specific compliment.
If you like the blogger's writing, tell them.
If the blogger needs to navigate, compliment them. Be positive and be specific.
It's always good to add factual information to your comment. For example, if someone's writing about the Statue of Liberty and you've seen it or read about the Statue of Liberty, go ahead and write some new factual information. How old is it? How tall is it? Be sure to look at the comment section to make sure no one has written what you want to say. And if no one has, go ahead and write it. Have fun adding factual information to your comment.
To make a comment better, it is nice to have a connection with the writer. Connections remind people of things. For example, let's say your friend published a post about their camping trip, and it reminded you of hiking at Big Bear. Then you might want to share some facts about your trip. That is how you make connections with the writer.
That's wonderful. Linda, really great comments there. And I know that when students create their own videos and their own script, they really internalize that, don't you think?
Absolutely. And they wrote that. We talked about the elements of a great comment, and they wrote that and put it all together.
Great. Okay. Well, with all the things that you're doing on the blog, one might think you have a lot of technology. Please tell us about the technology elements you started with and what you're using now.
Well, we started out our blog in 2008, believe it or not, with one computer and a whole lot of enthusiasm. We are not a tech-rich classroom. We don't have iPads. I don't have a smart board. We really just, like I said, started out with the one computer. We go to the computer lab every other week. And what I ended up doing is just using our one computer. We'd put it on the overhead and we would compose comments together. Sometimes I've had the kids pair up together. Lots of kids love to leave comments for home, and they have a lot of parent support for that, which is great. Recently, we got a few more computers, which is really helpful so that more kids can blog during our literacy block in the morning. But it really isn't about having a one-to-one. It's just about making the most of what you have.
Right. And you are the perfect example for that. Linda, I have a question actually specific for you. One of our viewers is asking, how do you build partnerships with other schools from other parts of the world? Do they contact you on your blog?
Well, when I started out, like I said, I didn't realize that there was even anybody doing this and that I would make these connections. What I started doing was going out and looking at different blogs around the world. And you can just search. EduBlog is a great platform for blogging. You can search through them. And I started visiting blogs, and when I made a connection with a blog, they were the same age and doing similar types of things. I would leave a comment. I direct my students to leave comments, and you start there. That's where the relationships develop. Now, over time, I've really connected with that group I told you in Australia, New Zealand, and Connecticut, and we're part of what's called a quad blog. And in the wiki we're going to share at the end, there's a video about what that is and how to connect. So that's another way to start. But I recommend going to blogs, leaving quality comments, following up on your comments, and start those connections.
That's great.
That's how I did it.
Okay, and you also have a wiki, you mentioned that can help teachers learn how to blog with the resources we have seen here today and more. First, what is a wiki, and how can teachers what can they find on your site?
Well, a wiki is a website, and there is a home page on a wiki, and in the side you get sort of like a table of contents, and you can click through that table of contents to whatever interests you. And mine is all about my journey as an educational blogger. Anything that I have learned, I've put on there. There's our videos that we've made about how to write a quality comment that people are welcome to use to teach in their class. How I teach commenting and how I've evolved as a teacher with that. One place to find it, I have an unusual name, Yolis. So if you Google Yolis or Linda Yolis, it will take you to our blog and to the wiki.
Right.
And I encourage people to read through it and give it a try. It's the greatest project I've ever seen in 25 years of teaching.
Well, that's wonderful, Linda. You had made one comment before that you won a mini grant, I believe, and that helped your students with their typing. Could you talk about that?
Sure, yes. Many years ago, I wrote a grant because I had no equipment in my classroom. I wrote a CTAP grant, and I got one, and I bought AlphaSmart computers with it. Now, they don't link to the internet, but they can be used for word processing, and most importantly, there's a typing tutorial on them. So every day during our half an hour of silent reading, the kids take 5 to 10 minutes and they work on their typing skills. And at this point in the year, about a third of my third graders can type, which is it's an essential skill in today's world. We still teach cursive, but keyboarding is really important. So that CTAP grant was a blessing.
That's wonderful. Well, do you have any final comments for teachers who are interested in blogging?
I recommend trying it, getting started with it. It's great if you have a partner at your school who's interested in doing it too, and you can work together and motivate each other and troubleshoot together. Start small. Mine started very, very small, and I've learned and I've grown, and my confidence has improved as a blogger. So start small And the other thing I'd say, I get asked this a lot, is, how do you find the time? I can't add something more to the things I'm already doing in my classroom. And what I say to teachers, what I've noticed in myself, is I have shifted as a teacher. The lessons that I used to do that were in this classroom, that were maybe paper and pencil, or they were a bulletin board, I've changed them and modified them and adapted them so that they're now blog posts, so that we can get some feedback, we can get other people commenting on them. So it's rethinking your lessons in a way of publishing rather than keeping it all inside the walls.
Great.
And I'm still growing as a learner. I learn something new every day on the blogging trail.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and enthusiasm with us. We really appreciate it. Viewers, be sure. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Linda. Sorry.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. And I really hope people will start in. You can contact me, too, for help. And happy blogging, everybody.
That's great. Be sure to visit Linda's wiki and blogs. And believe me, you've just seen the tip of the iceberg. Be sure to explore her Ugandan global project, where 6 elementary school classes raised $20,000 for a school and an orphanage. Now, that's empowering students to action. Thanks again, Linda. Great, thank you. Next, we'll take a virtual field trip to the Aquarium of the Pacific with Sarah Swain. Before we do, I want to encourage you to participate by posting your questions on this page just below this viewing window. So here's a question from the viewer. I want to learn how to do student projects and reports that are rich and media-driven. For example, I would like to explore new ways to do state reports or do mission projects. We're tired of the old usual way of doing it and want to excite kids about what they're learning and discovering. Kathy, you want to take this one?
Sure. One of the things that we've seen this past year that was very exciting, it was in the submission of a project done by a student, I believe it was 4th grade. He developed a blog and a website based on California missions, period of history with Father Sarah. Now, that was unique because what he did is he decided to write journal entries and take the role of Father Sarah. So all of his journal entries are Father Sarah's ideas, from Father Sarah's point of view. And it won an award, and it's beautifully done. And if you get a chance, check it out, because it's worth looking at what this kid did.
Right. I believe people can find that on the Digital Voice Award website. I believe that was 2010. That was the elementary best overall. So you can check that out. You can find that. Thank you, Kathy. Now, please welcome Sarah Swain from the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the aquarium.
Great. Sarah, as a content provider, you call your program interactive video conferencing. And essentially, virtual field trips or interactive video conferencing bring together students and experts via video conferencing. As a science educator, what types of programs do you offer?
Well, that's absolutely right. The unique thing about interactive video conferencing is exactly what's happening right now. We've connected over the internet, and we're getting the chance to have a conversation as if we're in the same room. And as a science content provider, we have the privilege of delivering science content that most students are definitely intrigued by. Most students we've met love to learn about science through the lens of the ocean. And so that's really what we focus on here. So I'd like to give you a few snippets of some of the programs that we offer. We do offer programs for students pre-K all the way up through high school, And one of the first ones is a program called Sharky's Adventure. And this program is for students in 1st and 2nd grade. So let's go ahead and meet Sharky here for a moment to give you an idea.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Sharky.
My name is Sharky. I work here at the aquarium. Today, I was going to go on an adventure to see if I can learn more about sharks. Hey, would you like to join me on my adventure?
Would you guys like to go?
Yeah. Sure.
All right, well, great.
All right, so then we would segue into showing the students some real sharks that we have here at the aquarium swimming around. So that's Sharky's Adventure. For our younger audiences, we talk about shapes, colors, and other basic concepts that we have in the ocean in a book called Friends in the Sea, Are You Like Me? So in Friends in the Sea, you'll see that we have Gracie, a gray whale. And Gracie the gray whale has lost her mom. She's lost her way on a migration from Alaska to Mexico. So she begins swimming looking for her mom, and on the way she hears some noises. We'll hear some noises here in a moment. She's wondering, is that my mom? And sure enough, we find Gracie's mom towards the end of the program, and the students contributed to that by learning about shapes, colors, and sizes. Now, a program we have for our middle school audience is the Fishial Pursuit program. Fishial Pursuit is like Trivial Pursuit, but with an ocean focus, as you can imagine. So let's test you just really quickly here with our blue whale fun fact. This is true or false?
Hello. Today I'm going to talk to you about my favorite subject. Me. My heart is as big as a VW bug. My tongue is as heavy as an African elephant. And when I was born, I weighed over a ton. If I had a bank account, that would be huge too. But did you know that I'm the biggest animal that ever lived?
All right, everybody, it's answer time. What do you think? Is the blue whale the biggest animal that has ever lived? True or false?
True.
True. Let's find out. Let's go back to that blue whale and see if you got it.
Well, little ones, you should always believe me. After being born, I started to grow very fast. At first, I gained 9 pounds an hour feeding off my mother's rich milk. Right now, I'm 88 feet long, and I will continue to grow a length of 110 feet and a weight of 300,000 pounds. You may find me right here in Southern California in the summertime feeding on krill. Krill are tiny shrimp-like animals. They're usually very abundant off the Channel Islands during summer.
All right, so good job. That was absolutely true. 1 point for your team. Yeah. Now, the next program that we're going to highlight is one called Ocean Rangers Shark Club. So we start off with a little theme music there, and then we head right into our mystery. So you guys would have some cards as students, and I believe you do have some cards there. So let's take a look at our first mystery here, Rangers. What I need you to answer is the following. Do sharks swim using their caudal fin or their pectoral fin? That's what we're looking at right here. So let's take a vote there in the studio. Who votes for caudal fin?
Sure.
Okay. Sure, who votes for pectoral fin? Right over here, those side fins. Anybody?
Ooh. No.
Well, if you voted for caudal fin, you are absolutely right. It is their caudal fin or their tail fin. Let's take a look, Rangers, at the shark right back here. This is a black tip reef shark, and you can see his other fins are balancing him, but he's really using that caudal fin to go left and right. This bony fish and these bony fish, they aren't using their tail fin as much. They're using all of their fins. Here are some hammerhead sharks behind me, and you'll see left to right with that caudal fin, also known as their tail fin. Now, we have a shark here at the aquarium called a bonnethead, who's a small hammerhead shark. This is the cousin of a shark, a stingray, and they use their pectoral fins. They're a little bit different than a shark. So let's go ahead and use our pen and mark off the pectoral fin, like you'll see right up here, and circle that caudal fin. You guys are going to do that right there in your classroom as well. So I'm going to show you guys that right up here. I'm going to circle that caudal fin. There we go. So circling the caudal fin and crossing off the pectoral fin. Now I have one more question for you in your classroom. Let's go back to our board, and what I want you guys to find here is, do sharks have dermal denticles or do they have ctenoid scales? Now that one's a little bit more tricky. Here's the question. It'll come up right here. Dermal denticles or ctenoid scales? Now I'll go ahead and tell you that they have dermal denticles. Dermal means skin and denticles means teeth. Take a look at these skin teeth. You can see that they have little pointy edges. So it's very much like they are teeth. They're not actually teeth, but that's what they look like. We're going to look at a movie that shows you how smooth they swim through the water using those dermal denticles. This is a leopard shark, and he's very hydrodynamic, and swims very well through the water because of those dermal denticles. It makes him very, very smooth. Now, bony fish, like these guys, they don't have dermal denticles. They have other kinds of scales. Well, Rangers, you've done a really good job today. You've learned all about some of the things that make a shark a shark. We're going to circle dermal denticles and cross off ctenoid scales. And I want to congratulate you on becoming an ocean ranger. Now, I think we have a message coming in here in just 1 minute. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt our program.
Hey, Opalon. Remember when you said I could ask you some questions about the ocean?
Yeah,
well, I just saw a shark and I'm afraid to go surfing. Can you help me out?
Thanks. I didn't really get a good look at the shark, but all I know is that it definitely had teeth. Oh, well, Rangers, does that help very much? Don't most sharks have teeth?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we're going to have to check in with some special rangers throughout our afternoon together to see if we can find more information from different rangers about how to find this shark. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we would continue on this adventure. This gives you a snippet of a program called Shark Mythbusters that we do with students in the 3rd through 5th grades.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That was a lot of fun, and really that interactivity is great. So, Laura, what do you see as the benefits of an interactive virtual field trip?
Well, with virtual field trips, you have that cost-saving benefit of not having to travel to the location where you're actually going. You're going there virtually, and that gives you the ability to travel anywhere in the world. You can travel to the museums in Australia or Canada without having to worry about the expense. And practically, how can you plan a trip to those far distances? And on top of that, you get to interact with experts, and your students get to have that wonderful experience of being able to talk with the experts and being able to be led through the experience.
That's great, Laura. And so virtual field trips are now a program that we're offering. Tell us about this service.
Here through the county office, we are offering virtual field trips to schools, and what we provide here at the county is the support and the benefit and the professional development so that teachers can then effectively participate in their classrooms and have that be that optimal experience. Additionally, we provide the technical support so that there is somebody there to test and make sure everything runs smoothly, that they're monitoring to make sure that you really don't have to worry about the technical pieces of it, that you can focus on the content because someone else is being able to monitor your feed and make sure everything runs smoothly.
That's great. Well, we have a question. How do I sign up for the virtual field trip, and how long is it? And is there a fee for the virtual field trip?
Okay. Virtual field trips, there is a national data bank of field trips that you can sign up for there's a website, cilc.org. And so some of those field trips are free. Some of them have a fee, and that comes from the content provider. So depending on the fee of the content provider, there's that, whatever it is. And those average about $150 per trip. We then have a fee of $100 to provide that planning, coordination, professional development, as well as the technical assistance on our end. And then on top of it, the field trip goes through our bridge so that you get a nice connection.
Right, and that's an important piece for sure. Right. That's absolutely so. So how can people access information about virtual field trips?
It's a brand new program for us, and so to get information about that, you would go to our website at ito.laco.edu. Excuse me. I keep wanting to say ITO because I work for ITO.
Okay, we have a lower third there.
Exactly, so I'm glad that's there. At laco.edu/VFT, and that VFT stands for Virtual Field Trips.
That's great. Thank you, Laura. Well, just a reminder to our viewers, please participate by posting your questions on this page. Media on demand, video streaming, visual learning, where can one go for the best professionally produced video? There's another premier service from Instructional Technology Outreach that is all about media in the classroom. Laura and I are greatly involved with a project called California Streaming. What is this, Laura?
California Streaming is a non-commercial media-on-demand service that we here at the county office work as a collaborative along with 15 other county offices in the state. Even though we're only 15 county offices, we serve over 20 counties throughout the state. And so our purpose, our goal is to provide quality content that's tied to the California content standards.
That's great. Well, what are the strategies that teachers should employ when using video in the classroom?
Well, most people assume that it's video, so the kids are just going to love it. They'll gain the information because, they watch television and it's something that they really enjoy. But it's really important that when using media in the classroom that you're employing strategies to make it more effective. And so one of the most important things to do is to segment that video.
Just what you need to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you target your students. You don't give that opportunity to go off on a tangent. You're focusing them right on what it is you're trying to teach. And then you want to make it interactive so that students aren't just passively watching the video. You want them to interact with it. And the ways you can do that is to pause that video. If you pause it and you ask questions, you check for understanding, you do all those things to make it interactive. And something that I always like to do is, because video does have so much information where you have the narration plus you have the visual, a lot of times your visual learners don't hear something in the narration, or your auditory learners don't see something in the visual. So a lot of times I'll like to go ahead and do what we call a second viewing, or even a third or fourth, where I'll say to my students, okay, this time I want you to look at, and let's watch it again. This time I want you to listen for.
So you give them a purpose.
A purpose. And then, and not all video has to be used necessarily to provide the content. Sometimes it's motivation. Sometimes it's setting the scene so that if you're trying to get them into the role of being an archaeologist or being the role of the scientist, they take that role on and they take the content seriously. Because if we motivate our students to do the work, they will find a way to get the information.
Right. So can you take us on a tour of California Streaming?
Sure.
Let's do that.
Let's take a look. Here we are at the California Streaming homepage. And as you can see, there's a way at the top you can search by keyword. If you scroll down below, you'll also see that you can search by content standard, grade level, and subject. From here, let's do a keyword search. We're going to type in the word organism and then click on the search bar, the little search magnifying glass. From there, you'll get your search results. You'll notice that the search results are organized by media type as well as by subject. If there's video, those videos are located at the top, and as you scroll down, if there's any audio files, those are next, as well as print resources and images. Since we're focusing on videos, let's go back to the top and look at the videos at the animal kingdom in zoology. You'll notice that it says browse all 24 items, and it only lists the first 6. So let's click on browse all 24 items to take a closer look at those videos. You'll now see that there's a description, so you can better read and figure out what that video is about and choose the one you want. Let's see if we can find one that focuses on classification. Let's take a look at the one on classification of life, classifying life. Clicking on that title will take you to the program details. On that detail page, you'll see a full description. You'll see the length of the full video, as well as grade levels recommended by the producer. This video also has segments, which is very nice so that you can target just what you want to teach. You won't have to watch the full video. You won't have to download the full video. You can pick the segment that fits the topic that you're focusing on with your students. Below those segments, you'll also see that this particular video has a teacher's guide. Some teacher's guides are more extensive than others. Some are just a page. Others can be multiple pages. And in this case, this teacher's guide is a 30-page document. It contains information on the script, and then there are blackline masters that have assessment as well as activities that you can do with your students. Again, these are provided by the producer, so depending on what that producer gives us, you may have more information or more support materials than others. Let's go back and take a look at that program detail page a little bit more, and you'll also see that below that teacher's guide, there are all the standards that this video is linked to, as well as citations so that you can model for your students the proper way of citing sources.
Let's go back up to the top of the page and take a look at the different segments. As I mentioned, since we are looking at classifying organisms, let's take a look at the clip on classifying organisms, just that a short little bit of it.
As you can imagine, it's a very difficult task classifying the millions of different kinds of living things found on our planet. Taxonomists are scientists responsible for classifying living things. What principles guide them in their work? The theory of evolution serves as a basis of modern scientific taxonomy. Similarities between different types of living things are used to identify evolutionary relationships between species. Scientists generally believe that the more similarities that exist between organisms, the closer their evolutionary relationship. Other types of information may also help classify organisms. One of the most common characteristics that scientists use to classify living things is related to their physical appearance. Skeletal structure, body shape, size, and anatomy all aid taxonomists in classifying organisms.
So, Laura, tell us about that video clip.
You know, that was just one small segment from a larger video, and on top of that, that was just a part of the segment, and it focuses in just on that one little topic. But the nice thing about it is, well, what I would do if I was teaching it is I would have stopped at that point and had a discussion where we could then look at that bone structure and start asking questions about what do you see that's similar? Why would you maybe put one of these or together with another? And then you could go back, you could continue on with that clip. So making it interactive, keeping it focused on what that topic is. So, and that's one nice thing about that particular video is it is segmented very nicely where you can do those kinds of things.
That's great. So if I want a free trial for California Streaming, how would I request this?
You would just go to the website at californiastreaming.org, and right there by the login, right below the login, there is a link that you just click on to request a free trial.
Okay, that's great. So I think it's important to know why media and what research there is to inform us about why we should bother bringing media in the classroom and why it's worth our time. Laura, I know you have some data to share with us, but let's take another question from a viewer here. There is a question that asks, is California Streaming available to private schools?
Absolutely. Absolutely. California Streaming is available to any school throughout the state of California, public or private. So if you're interested, again, if you want to try it out, go ahead to go to the website and request a free trial, or you can always contact us here, and we can always give you more information.
Okay, great. Thank you. So back to the data. Can you tell us a little bit about the research piece?
As I mentioned before, and with media, we really want to make sure that it's interactive, and a lot of the research backs that up. Just in terms of retaining information, when we hear something, we tend to retain just 20% of what we hear. If you see it, you'll retain about 30% of it. However, retention jumps tremendously when you hear it, see it, and interact with it. And it's that interaction that's the key, because that interaction is what increases the effectiveness of that clip or that video, and it allows for a deeper understanding. And so it's very important. That's why when we segment it and we make that interactive, it's key. It is just key to the effectiveness.
That's great. So earlier, Kathy, you had shared some data about English learners, and this research, I think, is really compelling. That's great. So thank you, Laura, for that response. We're out of time, but I encourage you to look through the resources on the Resource Links tab. We'll also respond to questions on the Follow-Up Questions tab. Finally, this Technology Services webinar will be archived on the Video Archive tab. All of these are found at tswebinars.laco.edu. So during this hour, we have explored a variety of established and emerging media options to support visual student learning. This includes high-quality media to support rigorous academics, as well as projects to encourage creativity and collaboration, essential 21st century student skills. Thanks to our guests, Linda Yolis and Sarah Swain. Laura, Kathy, and I We really hope you've been inspired to participate in the Classroom blog and hopefully enter your best student projects in the 2012 Digital Voice Awards. Thank you for joining us.